Hey, what is up guys? This is Harrison Barron from Growth Generators. Now in this video, I'm going to take you guys through the step-by-step process of everything that you're going to want to know or need to know on how to build a website, everything from starting from scratch, picking a template, to publishing your website, and probably a lot of details that you may or may not be wondering through the whole process. Now, this could take hours and hours and hours. This is going to be the condensed version. There is definitely ways to go through every single aspect of this whole thing, what makes a website look good, what makes a website look bad, all this kind of stuff. Now, why should you listen to this, or why should you even take my opinion? Myself and my team have built about 150 websites in the last year, many of which are ranking #1 on Google, and I want to share all these tips and tricks that we've learned and we've implemented to help you grow. Now, if at any point you want to add or you have questions, by all means, leave a comment down below. We're going to be making a ton of supporting videos on this, but there's just going to be too much for us to cover. This could be literally a 4, 5, 6, 7 hour long video. So we'll be making more videos in the future. Make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so that way you don't miss another opportunity to grow your website and things like that. So without any further ado, we're going to dive in. And like I said, please leave comments. It helps us make better content. And if you leave a comment with a question, chances are pretty good we're going to make another video answering that. So let's jump into my computer here. And granted, you're not a WIX partner, so you're not going to have the partner home here, but we're going to dive into the partner area. And we're just going to start a brand new website from scratch. Now, I'm going to be covering blogs, e-commerce, all that kind of stuff in here. And I want to show you guys the exact way that we do it. Now, for the sake of this video, we're going to use WIX. Editor X is far too complicated for most people, and WIX is just a great platform as it is. So we're going to just go through and pick, and I'm just going to start picking things. I'm shooting from the hip here as far as, like, I don't really even know what I'm going to build, but I'm going to build something pretty cool. Let's go business. I think business is cool. I think a lot of people want to build businesses, and now, the ADI is great if you already have an existing website or you want to kind of copy somebody else's website, but for the vast majority of other people, if you're looking for that custom look, you're going to want to go with a template. And you might be thinking, well, how is that a custom look? Their templates are really, really good, and you could swap in and swap out a lot of stuff. Now, this is the full gamut of what it's going to give you, and they've recently ramped this up. These are so much better than what they were 3, 6, 9 months ago. So congratulations to WIX on that one. I'm pretty excited to see that. And I'm just going to look, like, we have stocks, we have, some businesses all around here. And really what I'm looking for is stores. And I want to go through, and the reason why I'm picking store is because this really will resonate with a lot of people. So let's go into, I don't know, let's pick electronics. It's an area that I happen to know really, really well. And it doesn't really matter what your website is. One of the first things that I would say is no matter what website you're building, you want to make sure that you look at other websites in similar fields. So if I'm building an electronics website, maybe I want to go to like Newegg, right? That's an electronics website. And I just want to like take a look around. And I'm not really trying to steal ideas, but I want to just get a good idea of what I'm looking for. So Newegg is a great area to start. We can also go to like Micro Center. And we're just going to fire that website up. And like you kind of get the feel of it, right? There's a lot of white space. These are obviously very, very product and sales focused websites. Whereas, maybe a personal blog, maybe like Tech Radar. Tech Radar is a great like news source for tech and things like that. And this is more of a blog style thing where they don't really sell anything on here. Now, for your industry, it's going to vary tremendously, but the reason I'm telling you about this is just go get some ideas even before you pick the template. I think if you pick a template first, it's not a bad thing, but you might find things that you like on other websites versus your own. Now, for me personally, I kind of like the condensed look, but I like a more punchy look. So I'm just looking, I've already used this template. I'm actually really not a big fan of that template. But let's just go home tech store, right? I think that's pretty cool. Actually, you know what? I kind of like, let's go with home tech store. And the nice part is you can hit view and you can see the full demo. It's going to give you like a little walkthrough here. It's got some dynamic pages in there. If you want to see the full demo, click the full demo. And like I said, I'm really going to try to like cover as much as I possibly can in here. Use this template as a starting point. No, I want to see this first. And this is something that you're going to need to look at, go through, and really see like, your home smarter, right? This is cool. We got some images back here. We have some stuff over here. Wireless, energy efficient, easy to control, fine curves. I mean, it's cool. It's a punchy website. I really do. I like the vibe that I'm getting from it. And if I was looking to start a tech website, now here's the catch. If you don't have any pictures, don't pick a very picture-focused website. You are going to run into a ton of problems. If you don't have pictures of your product or your drop shipping and things like that, don't do this. This is the easiest way to get yourself into a more of a difficult situation to get out of. And when I say that, I mean, if you're working, let's just say you're drop shipping from Alibaba or, you know, any of these other companies, Printful or anything like that, you're very limited on the amount of images that you can have, right? Because you can only use the images that they offer. Now, the reason why I'm saying that is because if you look at this, right, this product, this is an actual product. Like, this is not a photoshopped image. And if it is, this girl's cut out, this is photoshopped on here, and this is a whole image of this sitting there. Now, I'm not saying that you can't do that, but if you were to custom make this image, that's a lot of work. There's no doubt about that, right? If you don't actually have the physical products to go through and add all these things, it's going to be a lot of work. So just something to keep in mind, right? Like, they have full 3D renderings of these images, and, you know, they might have tied up a little string up here where they can actually take pictures of it. But just keep that in mind when you're thinking about picking a template. If there's other templates that are more like, hey, this is the product that we're offering and how to sell it and stuff like that, then by all means, go with that. Do not skip out on that. You know, if you have, this is a great dropshipping website, drone store, maybe mobile accessory store, things like that, because you might not have those nice 3D renderings of that. So keep that in mind if that's something that you want to do. And for the sake, I'm just going to hit edit this website, right? And I'm not going to take too many, you know, opportunities to change up the website. I'm going to just show you guys how to swap in pictures, how to swap in text, and really some things that you need to look out for when you're building this here. So I'm going to take a drink of water while this is loading. And it takes a couple minutes, like it depending on your internet connection, things like that. It's loading this whole thing and it's putting it in your account. And here it is, right? So we have home, newsletter, support, experts review. It's going to have your account, you have your login, you have your buy button, and all that kind of stuff. And this is your basic editor, right? And it's pretty impressive that somebody built this on this editor. This is actually a really, really nice website that they built, right? This is an image background. Keep that in mind when you're going through all this kind of stuff. But let's just say we want to swap out this image, right? So let's just change this image, because this is probably one of the first things that you're going to want to do is change images. Now, I'm going to use all WIX's images. I'm not going to sit here and try to find other images, but let's just say speaker. No speaker images. Probably because I can't spell it right. Speaker. And like, this is really like kind of something that you want to look for when you're going through this whole thing. Now in this case, right, this is, they have a 3D image, but there it is, right? That's their products. And we're just going to swap it out for this image. And keep in mind, like, if you're using a full image, it's going to get cut off. So this is a crop. I want to just make sure I pull this out and pull this out. Whoops. And I want to center that. I'm actually going to bring this in a little bit. And the reason why I'm going to bring that in is so that way it doesn't go off page and doesn't mess with WIX. Now, when you're first starting your website out, you want to keep in mind these lines are super important. And that's because this will shrink down with your website. So when you're going to a tablet or anything like that, when you're going to a mobile device, it's actually going to be a little different. And I'm moving this down here so that way when you click off of it, you can actually see the speakers, right? And you can actually see the text. Now, if the text was, or the text happened to be behind it, right? You can actually bring this back. So this brought it to the front, and now the text is cut off. So I don't particularly want that. So I'm actually going to push it back one layer, and this is what these buttons do. So if you want to, you can go in here, move forward, move backwards, move all the way to the front, or move all the way to the back. So in this case, I moved it back, so this text is sitting on top of it. Think of it, if you've ever seen Photoshop, everything's in layers on here. Now, starting from the top, this is your home page. And the reason why I showed you this is because up here, you'll see the logo, and we could actually go in here, and this has a pin to screen option, which means it's always going to be in the top left. This is always going to be in the top right. So some people choose to put those in the center over here on the header, right? If I wanted to move this, I could just unpin the element, right? And now I can move this whole, this menu is not being so nice to me right now. If you ever mess up too, Control-Z is going to be tremendously helpful. And nope, I want to unpin this element, and it goes black. There it is. Perfect. So if I want to move that in, oh, that's two different things. That's not even a logo. Love it. There it is. So I can bring that in. Same thing with this. So this is pinned to the screen. I don't want it pinned to the screen, or better yet, if I'm going to pin it to the screen, I want it right in the middle. And then I'm going to bring this stuff over. Now, typically, you're going to want to pin these things in all different areas if you want your website to really open and close nicely, but that's not always the case, because if somebody's working on a giant screen, for example, I have a 49-inch monitor, it's going to push it all the way out to the sides, and it's going to look ridiculous. So this is something to keep in mind. Now, does everybody have a 49-inch monitor? No, the average monitor size is between 13 inches and about 27 inches, 28 inches. So just about the size of my screen is actually where you would see it. But it depends. If you like the condensed look, go with the condensed look. If you don't want the condensed look, right, if I try to pin it here, it's going to go right on top. So I want to make sure I unpin the element and I bring this element all the way over. Now, once again, it's staying in these lines. If it's not in those lines, when I shrink my screen here, and you'll see, right? It's going to start to get a little messed up, or better yet, it's inside of there. Otherwise, it would get a little messed up. So keep that in mind when you're going through all this kind of stuff. If you want to add this button in here, we're going to have to unpin this. And having it pinned is great. I'm not against having it pinned, but these are all things that you need to know. So if you're freshly modifying this layout or any other layouts, a lot of times they do have a pinned element up here, and that's just how they do it. I think it looks great. It's honestly phenomenal if you are if you're in that area, but you really want to keep everything in those two lines that are on the screen right here and right here. Because if you don't, if you're not pinned, when you start to move this outside, so let's just take this here and we'll move this outside all the way back over here. And then I start to shrink my screen again. See how it goes right off the screen until I bring it back in? That's what you want to be careful about. That's what you want to watch out for. So just keep that in mind when you're going through this whole process. Now, I don't think I need to really cover text, but if you're going to edit anything, just double click it. You can adjust everything. Now in here, this is really, really important. So you have Your Home Smarter. Every page you have, you want typically 3 elements on there. You want a heading 1, a heading 2, and a heading 3. Now, if you like the way it looks or anything like that, you can always change these. So if you have a heading 1, this is your heading 1 theme, right? In here, if I edit this text, this is paragraph 2. But every single thing on here is always going to be editable. For the most part, Wix is like the definition of a drag and drop, not to mention other companies that don't allow this, like we're a true drag and drop, Squarespace. This is something to keep in mind, right? So like if I want to move this, I can move this around on here. If I'm going to edit these words, you would just simply, make your home smart. You can edit your fonts. Typically, you're going to want your fonts to be a minimum of like size 16. Anything smaller than that, it just becomes unreadable or illegible. You have your bold, you have your italic. I mean, this is all pretty common stuff in Word and things like that. Underline, color, highlight. This is if you want to link that out where it's, it's alignment, if it's going to be bulleted, decrease indent, increase indent. I mean, it's all pretty simple stuff here. And then you have your change text direction. Then you have your effects. This is, now, when you're building a website, something that a lot of people forget or don't really go in depth enough about is there's typically 3 main steps of building a website. You're going to have your number 1 is going to be your wireframe. So getting the basic layout, that is essentially what a template is. Number 2 is actually going to be filling in the details. So adjusting the pictures, changing the text, changing the font, all that kind of stuff. And then number 3 is actually design. Design is the last thing that comes into play. Because think about it, right? You can, the last thing when you're building a house is the color of the wallpaper or the color of the carpets. Yeah, you might want to pick that out in advance, but it doesn't really matter, right? You need to have a foundation first. That's essentially your wireframe. Then you need to go in and actually put up the studs and get kind of like that kind of stuff. Hey, we're going to frame out the kitchen, things like that. And then afterwards, the last and final step is really putting in the cabinets and the countertops and the, furniture and all that kind of stuff. That's really design and that kind of stuff at the end. But the wireframe and all that kind of stuff is really, really important. So keep that in mind. Now, if you have any buttons on there and you want to link them out, you can hit change text, you can do layouts, you can do linked, you can do design if you want to do an animation where it's going to bounce in, right? And if you just hover over these, it's going to tell you which ones to go through. So don't think, hey, I need this. Now, keep in mind, plain or just slight movements is really the new norm, and white space is really popular. If you have a really punchy website, I don't want to say it's bad, because it's not bad. We've definitely made some, but that's not the norm for websites. Don't get me wrong. If you're a fashion website, it should be punchy. But for a lot of other websites, simple, clean, light design, and white space is the key to building a really just simple, clean-looking website. And if you don't believe me, Newegg is a multi-million, if not $1 billion company. It's all white space. Yeah, there's product images and things like that, but it's all white space. Same thing with Micro Center, right? Tech Radar, same thing. And if you don't believe me, I mean, we all know that Apple is $1 trillion company. I mean, look at how much white space is on this website. Granted, yeah, there's definitely blacks in here. It's a little more punchy, but the overwhelming majority of this website, and sorry, my honey pop-up keeps coming up here. The overwhelming majority of this website is white space. This is a super punchy thing. Obviously, they're pushing MacBooks right now. Mac Pro. I mean, it's a lot of white space. It's super simple. And keep in mind, too, there are some things called the ADA compliance, American Disability Association. You want your website to be legible. So if your colors are too close together and things like that, you may have trouble legally down the road. I'm not saying, to avoid that. But if, you want to make this color, right, let me go to the editor here. But if you wanted to make this, maybe a light gray, I think you and I can both agree that that's too hard to read. Keep it black and white, just think of a color wheel, go on opposite sides of the color wheel. It's typically going to be the most punchy and things like that for your website. But this is ultimately how you're going to change out text. And this is the very, very basics of building a website. Now, your position, things like that are going to be totally different. And if you want to add elements, let's start adding some elements here. I'm just going to go all the way down to the bottom here. And this is really cool. I mean, these are lines into different areas of the website, so they shrink correctly and all that kind of stuff. Little color image right here. I mean, it's a beautiful, well-done website. And in here, I'm just going to add a couple things. Actually, let's go over the site elements first. So in here, you have your sitemap. This is basically your whole site. So you have newsletter, buy now, support, expert reviews, all that kind of stuff. If you wanted to add a new page, this is where you're going to do it. If you want to add a link to a page or add a folder is a drop-down menu. You have sign up and login, right? If you want to have members sign up and log in, you just simply click on all of these. This is what it's going to show you, right? I'm going to cover all this stuff in a little bit of more depth down the road. Product page, right? If you want to see what the product page looks like, what does the product page look like? This is it. No products could be found because there are no products on the website. Cart page, right? Buy now. Here's your actual page here where you have your buy now. So these are all your different speakers and things like that. These are actually pretty cool looking speakers, honestly. You have your cart page. So when people check out, cart is currently empty, right? That's good. Continue shopping. And then your thank you page after somebody checks out. But these are all the different areas. You have your forum content. You have your forum posts, right? You have your my addresses, my wallet, settings. Basically everything on here. And like I said, this is literally a several hour long project. And then if you wanted to have like a cool change on your pages, we have cut in and out, none, horizontal, vertical. Keep in mind, the more things that you add to your website, the slower it's going to load. Now you might be thinking, why does that matter? Well, typically Google, when it's showing out a website, they want your website to load as fast as possible, especially on mobile. So keep in mind, the human attention span is about 3 to 5 seconds. Arguably now the experts are saying that it's less than a goldfish. So you got to remember, if you're getting on that website, maybe a page transition actually slows it down. If you're ever curious, you can actually go here, page speed insights. And this is Google literally telling you what to do. So if I went to growth generators, this will tell me how fast growth generators is actually loading. Having really high quality images on your website is actually a bad thing, because it's going to slow down the load speed, especially if your homepage. This is super important. And it's just running a quick scan on both mobile and desktop. So when you're going through this whole thing and you're publishing it, you want to make sure that your load speeds are pretty good. If you're going and visiting your website and it's taking a long time, right? So mobile, little slow, could be a lot faster. Desktop, great. I mean, 87, almost 90. And it's going to tell me right here. So it's going to tell me what's slowing it down. So first content paintful, paint, speed index, largest content paint, eliminate render sources. Like, these are all super technical things. Properly size images, right? I could shave off 0.3 seconds on there. Same thing with mobile. Severe images, serve images in next-gen formats. That's always going to say that. A lot of times you can't actually do that depending on your builder. Remove unused JavaScript. Avoid multiple page redirects. I mean, this is all normal stuff. It's okay. It loads actually pretty quickly on your mobile device. But this is just a general thing. So something you want to check. If you're like below 50, you might want to revisit your stuff here. But I just wanted to make sure I threw that in, because I've seen people build websites where they just add picture after picture after picture. You're going to start to hit some problems because it just takes too much time to load your website. And Wix actually does a really good job loading websites. Next thing is you're going to have page backgrounds. I don't always recommend a page background. Typically I like white, but every once in a while you get something that's really interesting and unique, right? Some avocados in here. And the cool part is you can just click on this, it'll bring it through. And it actually shows like it's made for a white background. If you wanted to choose a color, you can choose a color there. Image, if there's any images and you want to search a whole database or upload an image, you can do that as well. And in here you have media from Wix, Shutterstock, Unsplash, all these different areas that you can grab free images from, or videos. Now, I usually tell people 9 times out of 10, don't put images or better yet videos on your home screen and honestly most areas of your website. The reason is because it takes a very long time to load. You're actually, if you're going to use videos and things like that, put them on different pages, the pages that people aren't going to first, so that way you can still keep a high quality load speed here. But that would be my recommendation for you guys. Next, we're going to have add. This is where you can add anything you want to add. This is really where the builder and editor come to life. So you're going to have your about, you're going to have your contact, you're going to have your welcome, services, and these are all just added strips. So if I wanted to add a strip, I personally, typically when we're building websites for people, I usually tell people, let's just, we'll build a plain white strip. Now, strips are really important. You want everything attached to a strip. It can get a little finicky, but the reason is when you cut over to mobile, you're going to save yourself a ton of headaches. We've seen people just add things all over the page, and then when it comes to mobile doesn't know how to edit and add the page style correctly. So if we go to mobile now, obviously this is going to be a finished or mostly finished website. But in here, you'll actually see there's the strip we just added, right? It was right below this. And you have to go in and adjust all this kind of stuff. Now, if we just started adding things all over the place without attaching it to a strip, this is so incredibly important, you are going to run into a slew of headaches. Now, it says hide elements. It doesn't want to show everything on their vector art strip, right? These are all different things that you can add. So if I hit add this, right, it's going to add that little box. And it just shows that it's like unneeded on there, right? If I add all these different things in here, it's just going to start to get a little wild, right? It wants those vector arts inside of there. So maybe that's something you have to adjust when you come through this whole process. Me and your mobile site, I'm obviously going to skip this. We may have built a couple hundred of these already. Back to desktop version though. But you always want to make sure that every time you're adding something, you're always adding it to a strip. You can change a strip background specifically, right? If you wanted to add a video in there or an image in there, we're going to add an image because I do practice what I preach here. And we're just going to grab, we're going to just grab that. And like I said, I just want to show you guys the basics of this. Background scroll effects, anything like that. I do thoroughly encourage you to play with these things. The only way that you're going to get better at building your website and fixing it is by testing literally everything in here. But always, I cannot preach it enough. If you want to add columns or anything like that, center, left, right, play around with it. Always save your work. You don't want, especially if you have other people on your account and anything like that, but just play with it. Test every little thing. Stretched versus unstretched, right? Is it the whole screen or is it the whole page? Right? If it's the whole screen, it'll wrap all the way across the screen. If it's just this area, it's only going to show a background image in this area. So all things to keep in mind when you're going through all this stuff, but always attach anything that you're doing onto a strip. If you don't, it's going to cause you a slew of nightmares. And this is literally 9 times out of 10 people that come to us saying, hey, I can't figure out my website, it's because they're not attaching things to the strip. So if there's any good advice I can give you, please do that. In here, you're going to have your headings. So you have your theme text, you have your titles. This is all cool. I typically, every once in a while, will use these and reformat them. But you always want to make sure that your headings, you have at least one H1 where this is a heading 1, 2 or 3 H2s, and then as many H3s, H4s, H5s. Think about it when you're writing an article for college or anything like that. You have your title, you have your main supporting headlines, and then you have your under supporting, and then under supporting and under supporting. Typically, we don't usually do 5 or 6 just because it's not needed. It's usually 1, 2, 3, sometimes 4 is really the most important for you. You have your titles. It's just going to give you a bunch of quick little areas to grab stuff. And if you ever put something on the page and you're like, oh, I messed that up, simply come in here. You could always click this and you could always adjust. So there's 2 ways to do this. You can either adjust this, which will already be pre-formatted, or you can go back in here and you'll have your effects, right? I mean, these are all pretty self-explanatory. Character lines, right? If you want to adjust anything, line spacing, all that kind of stuff. This is where you can mess around with that. Vertical text, if you're going to put vertical text, enable vertical text. That's vertical text. And then SEO. So this is where you're going to actually get those options. Let it load for a second here. And this is where you can adjust it. So heading 1, heading 2, these are where the H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, H6 come from. P is paragraph. So anything that isn't a heading will be a paragraph on here. And that's really it, the fine curves, right? I don't think that that's necessarily something great as far as an H tag. You might want to make that a paragraph, but I'll be making another video down the road as far as what is heading tags and all that kind of stuff. Definitely go watch that one. That's going to be huge for you guys, especially when you want to get found on Google. If you don't care about getting found on Google and you plan on running ads, none of this matters. But if you plan on running ads, I mean, if you plan on getting organic traffic, which I encourage everybody to do, you're definitely going to want to spend some time and pay attention to all this kind of stuff, especially your headings and things like that, because it's going to make your life a million times easier. Next, you're going to have any images. Same thing. You can upload images, image collection, my social, right? You can always add these. These are not made by Wix. These are made by third-party applications. So if you want to do virtual tours, before and after sliders, we've used a lot of these, believe it or not. This is beautiful, especially if you're a photographer where you're fixing something or changing, maybe a piece of wood into a table. Take a picture of the exact same spot twice, before and after. It's really, really cool when you do that. If you have a Flickr account, Facebook, stock images, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, this kind of stuff. Buttons, pick good buttons, please. Pick buttons that complement the website. If your website is black and white, go with a gray button. Maybe a red button, right? Not something too punchy, not like a neon blue or anything like that. And you want to make sure that when you get a button, no matter what button it is, make sure it's the same color throughout the whole process. If it's not, it just looks clunky and things like that. That's another thing that we see. Buttons, believe it or not, in my opinion, take the website from, or can help take a website from good to great. Really spending time on finding a good button, like things like this, download a file, right? App, say hello, all this kind of stuff. These are really, really nice buttons. Do you have to use them? No, we use these buttons all the time because sometimes people want to go back and edit them, right? Who wants to go back and try to edit these or really fix these? You have your icons, super important. If you want to make a phone call or house or mail or something like that, all of these things depend on what kind of website you're running. Document buttons, save your work regularly, right? I mean, I'm glad it's saying that. This is a test one. If you have a podcast or maybe some music, get it on iTunes. Let's chat. Chat button, message us right here. There's a members only thing. Pay buttons. I mean, it's all buttons. If you want to integrate a PayPal button, a sell button, button magic, animate your buttons. Keep the animations to a minimum. Animations is the last thing you want to do, by the way. I know I've kind of preached that. That's part of design. Wix chat buttons, pay buttons. I mean, this is all the buttons, right? And as you scroll through this will actually adjust. Next is going to be gallery. If you're going to put high quality photos on the website, this is it. Just go through. You can hover over these. Typically, they'll do something, so it'll actually show you, like, hey, if you hold your mouse over it, it'll show you what it's going to look like. I mean, it's pretty cool. It'll show you like how it's going to look, how it's going to slide, all that kind of stuff. So slow down when you're building your website. Take your time. I know that we're racing through this because I'm trying to cover a ton of material in a very reasonable amount of time. But that's images, decorative. You got to be super careful with this kind of stuff because if you misformat it, you're going to not be too happy. For example, when I say that, you want to make sure like up here, we have some or better yet down here, we have some formatting. If these lines aren't lined up correctly and, oops, I want to move this over here. By the way, since I messed up that formatting, this is now up there. Why is this giving me a hard time? There it goes. But if your line is here, when you shrink your page down, it's going to mess it up. So just keep that in mind, right? Obviously, that line is staying in the right spot, but now as I'm getting it closer and closer to squished, it's falling off the page. So once again, keep in mind those lines on the outside. That's where you really want to build the majority of your content in here. Most of these other ones you may or may not play around with. Decorative, obviously, is decorative stuff. You can play around with those. Interactive, these are really cool. Sliders, light boxes are when you go to somebody's new website and it says, subscribe now or give us your email for 10% off, all that kind of stuff. Boxes are great, containers, framing things out, all that kind of stuff. I mean, these are all really kind of design stuff. Believe it or not, the majority of your stuff, a majority of what you're going to be doing is really the strip, text, and images. The only other thing that I would say is probably pretty valuable if you're selling products or selling services or maybe vacations and things like that. A repeater is great. Let me actually show you guys a repeater because a repeater is pretty important. First things first, you always want to make sure it's attached to a strip. So if it's not attached to the strip, you have to make the strip a little larger. And then this will actually say, see it says attach to strip. Always going to want to make sure it's attached to the strip. Now, these all move at the exact same time. You could put unique data in all of them, but it's a repeater. It's repeating the same formatting. It's not repeating the same content, right? So if I move this, it's going to move them all. Right, so this is a repeater. If you sell different packages or anything like that, this is a great place. And the nice part is you don't have to keep formatting them over and over and over again. It's going to repeat the same format over and over and over again. So depending on how many repeaters, or how many items you have in here, it's going to say manage items, manage item, manage item, manage item. So if I want to duplicate number 2, it's just going to drop it down. If I want to duplicate number 1, it's going to drop it down. And same thing for number 3, right? So, and anytime you move these on a repeater, it's going to be the same for all of them. That's the whole point of a repeater. So you can change that. If you wanted to edit the text just like anything else, you would go in here and maybe I want to make this 650, right? And it's only going to change that one even though we duplicated those things. You can go in here, you can swap out the image. You would just click that, change image, and in this case, you could just grab another image from wherever, right? Let's just put a cat in here. I mean, that's pretty much it. All the same styling functions and things like that are all still built in here. If I could click it, right? Design, if you want to adjust anything. If you change one design, it's going to change the design for all of them, so just be careful. If you want to do shop, right? Book now, read more, view our work. I mean, it's just pulling the format. It's not changing anything else on there. And now it's all book now, right? You can get kind of creative with this. Don't think like, hey, you're trapped in, a certain amount of space here. Next thing is going to be, let me go in here again. Videos, right? You're better off just pulling them right from YouTube or Vimeo, Facebook, Dailymotion. I've never used Dailymotion. If you're going to put a video on here, try to keep it like 1080p or 720. I know it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but your website is just not going to load 4K fast enough, and Google's going to yell at you. You have Wix Video, Video Box, Video Masks, anything like that. Once again, look at the website that you really love. If there's a certain website that you really like, follow that website. Don't try to recreate the wheel or anything like that. If you're going for the obscure look, go for the obscure look. If you're following a tech trend, follow the tech trends. Like, don't try to recreate the wheel. There's these companies, especially the ones I pulled up, Newegg, Micro Center, Tech Radar, Mac. I mean, they're billions and trillion-dollar companies. There's no need to recreate the wheel in here. Wix Music, I don't know how I feel about Wix Music. Sometimes we put Wix Music on like 1 or 2 websites. I don't particularly like when I go to a website and there's music playing. Think about trillion-dollar companies. When you go to Amazon, is there music playing? If you go to Apple, is there music playing? No, it confuses somebody. Unless you're a music artist, right? If you're a music artist, I'd hope that there's music playing. But even like, RIP to DMX here. But if you go to like Rockefeller Records, there is no music that plays. And honestly, I don't really want to play it. Just God forbid if there is music that plays. But I was in here the other day. Where is Rockefeller Records? I don't believe that this is it. No, this is everything on there. But I was on Rockefeller Records the other day. There was no music that played. And that's a music label. So keep that in mind. Spotify player, anything like that. Get it on iTunes, iPlayer. These are all the additional things. Wix podcast player, Band is in Town, right? Video and image slider. I mean, they really try to go above and beyond. Any menus that you might want to add. And if you're ever curious to know like how to add these, you literally just click and drag it in. I mean, that's it. And then you could go into formatting. But once again, put it on the website first before you like start messing around with your design and stuff like that. In an effort to save time, I'm going to just breeze through a lot of the rest of this. Social icons, you're going to link those out. If you want to link out a social icon, let's just do these gray ones on a gray background. You can go in here, you're going to double click it, right? It knows that it's icons. And then you're going to do Facebook, right? So in this case, it would be / growth generators. For you, it's going to be different. Pinterest, Twitter, that's not Twitter, that's Tumblr, Instagram, and YouTube, right? / growth generators. Like whatever it is for you, that's it. Animations are great. They if you use animations wrong, it can make your website look cheesy. So even if you have a nice looking website, if you use certain animations incorrectly, you got to be really careful because it could just make it look so cheesy. Contact and embed form. Obviously, you're going to want a contact form in here. You're going to want to just put this on the page. So let me actually get rid of my repeater here. I'll delete this. Bring this in. Now, since I dropped it right in the middle of the strip, it's automatically going to attach to it. And in here, you want to do form settings. And then you're going to make sure that you get email notifications. So right now, it's setting to my personal email, or better yet, my business email. Main settings, view submission table. I mean, you really got to go through all this kind of stuff. There's a lot in here that you're going to need to know. But we have Wix Forms, email marketing, right? Support, anything like that. And if you want to upgrade, you can get some additional stuff. Ascend is anywhere between like $11 a month, I think, and about $25 a month for some automation. And then you're going to go through. If you want to add other text fields, right, you can edit your fields in here. So first name required, right, 100 characters. If you want to go to settings, you can add settings in here, add new rule. I mean, there's a lot that you can do in here. There's, like I said, there's way more than I could possibly ever go through. They did a really, really good job. Customized design, right? If I want to look at the whole thing, form settings, better yet, not form settings, add new field, right? And these are all the fields. If you want to add a birthday in here, you can just click add birthday, right? You have to go back and format this correctly because otherwise it won't work. Basic fields right here, right? What basic fields do you want? Advanced fields. Are there any additional advanced fields? Is it a signature field? Upload file field? Those are going to be available in your send business tools. And then anti-spam, adding a reCAPTCHA is huge, right? You get up to, I think, 10 spots on a free form, and then after that they want you to pay. But I'm not a robot, right? And if you wanted to mess around with this, you'd have to just pull this down. Birthday. And it's not going to be formatted right off the bat. You're going to have to go through and you'll have to play around with this and get it all lined up perfectly and shrink this down a little bit and make this a little bigger. Like, this is the same process that we go through. There's no secret sauce. Typically people don't hide that in there. And then I'm not a robot and then submit. But that's forms. Embedding, chances are pretty good if you're just building a website, you're not going to mess around with this. If you are, we're probably going to make a whole nother video on this. This is way too advanced for most beginners. Content manager, we will be adding this in a few minutes. Blog, starting a blog, same thing as a content manager. Easily manage your website's content, right? Store, this is where you're going to add your store, bookings, events. We actually haven't really had anybody that added events to their stuff unless they did it afterwards. Members, this is really cool. So if you want somebody to see, or if you're building a form out, you want to have people have members. We have built a couple membership forms. They are really cool, and especially if you get the right people in there, they're extremely active. And then my design. So if you've saved anything in the past, this is exactly where you would go for it. But that's the overwhelming majority of starting to build your website in here. Then you're going to have your theme manager, any colors or anything like that. This is what you're going to see when you go in to adjust any colors. So pick your colors. Chances are pretty good if you're starting a brand new website, you probably want a logo. Is it necessary? No. But that logo should have colors. Or you should pick your colors in advance. You should never pick your colors, in the process, because none of your colors are going to match. Go through, pick the 5 or 6 different colors that you're going to have scattered throughout the website. Any professional website out there is going to have the same colors, right? We have the gray, we have black, and we have blue on this website. Now, obviously, for the websites or for different areas of this website, there's going to be different things as far as colors. But if I scroll all the way down to the bottom, right, it's all gray. I mean, the colors are the same throughout almost every single page. It's the same blue that we saw before. Yeah, the iPhones, it's black again, black, white, blue, black, white, blue. It's showing you the colors of the phones, right? But the overwhelming majority, these are other people's logos, is black, white, blue. There's no obscure, random pink anywhere scattered throughout other than on the phone case, right? I mean, that's how these brands function. They have their 5 or 6 brand colors, and that is it. They make products with other colors on them, but you don't see, this isn't, pink or orange or yellow or green. That's just how it is, right? Any of these things, if you go to, let's go to Apple Camp, right? Apple Camp is probably the exact same colors. You have a cool drawing, black, blue, white. I mean, it's all the same. So don't get too crazy with colors. That's another thing that we see a lot of, is people getting, carried away with colors. This is going to be your Wix app market. So if you want to add apps and anything like that, there's always apps in here. Some of them are paid, some of them are free, pricing plans, things like that. You can come in here, you can either buy them, pick a team, if there's something that you want an integration with. So maybe it's HubSpot. HubSpot by, import customer data from HubSpot, sync your contacts and forms to HubSpot, right? These are all things that you might want to add, right? Add to HubSpot. There are premium site required. I mean, that means you have to pay for it. Is it good or is it bad? It's poor integration, lack of settings, doesn't work with Wix data forms. I do agree with this. It's not the best for HubSpot. But there's a variety of things on here. I mean, if you want one of those little pop-ups, those little trust pop-ups, let's just do pop-up. Conversion pop-up, Facebook-like pop-up, smart pop-ups and forms, MailChimp forms, Power pop-up forms. I mean, there's so many things in here. I'm not going to get carried away on it. 1, 2, 3 form builder, email signups, anything you could ever think of, and you could just add them, right? You can mess around with it, add it. I'm not going to go in through that because there's just thousands of them. This is going to be your media, so Photo Studio, edit photos. If you want to edit videos in here, I don't particularly love their photos and video editors. If you have another one, I would definitely recommend, why use a generalist when, if you know how to use it, go use a specialist product. So Canva or something like that, something that's made for it. Upload pictures from Facebook, Instagram, Google Drive, and then Google Photos in here. All right, I mean, pretty self-explanatory. This is where you can add a blog. I definitely recommend, if you're looking to grow online, adding a blog is really, really important. So this is where you would add a blog. You can go and either create a post, manage posts, and this is what it's going to look like. It's just going to pre-fill out a bunch of these, right? You have your blog pages, you have your blog elements, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, this list goes on and on. There's so much to cover in here. But that's how you'd add a blog. You literally just click add and it adds the blog. In here we already have a store, so there's no need for a store just yet. Always make sure your footer has the appropriate information. If it's a text or if it's a menu down here, about us, anything like that. I mean, and then you always want to just change this. If you're a website builder, change it back to your website. If you're not a website builder and you're building your website for yourself, feel free to link us back. Link back to us. I would always typically say get proudly created with Wix. I don't particularly love it. You're doing enough promotion for them. I'm not hating on Wix by any stretch of the imagination, but that's just building another link for Wix and things like that. Is it necessary? No, maybe you don't care. Typically, when we build websites, we just say 2023 by Easy Electronics, proudly created by Baron Media Group, or now Growth Generators, right? There's no... we don't link back to Wix or anything like that. You could always change that. That's definitely something super simple. Bookings, if you're going to add bookings and things like that, we'll be going through that in a future video. Like I said, there's so much in here. And then you have your marketing and SEO. So this is a send. Anything in here, for the most part, is probably going to be paid as far as like an additional feature. But there's so much cool stuff. You have Facebook ads. You have SEO tools. You have email marketing. You have social posts. You have Video Maker, content integrations, customer management. They have a whole CRM built in. So if you don't want to use HubSpot, our absolutely favorite CRM, go use this. It's not bad. It's not the best, but it's not bad. For somebody that wants to be all in one spot, this is the best decision you could possibly make. Finances get paid easily, price quotes, invoices, financial integrations, analytics and reports. You can go in there, and I've seen some really impressive businesses built completely on Wix, and then you can upgrade. We'll just cover pricing really quickly because we're already in here. Unlimited $49, $24, $10, and then limited free pre-install. So there you go. I mean, send 5 email campaigns, 20 email campaigns, unlimited email campaigns, unlimited form features, get personalized chatbots, set up unlimited automations, unlimited social posts. If you're not that tech savvy, this is a phenomenal place to just build your whole business off of. If you're a little more tech savvy, there's definitely other CRMs that, in my opinion, do a better job. And that's really it. I mean, that's a basic layout. If you're curious to know about or how to get to any of your pages that you can't necessarily see, up here you can go to page, right? You have your blog page up here. And this is typically where you're going to be able to just navigate to it. Oh, we're already on the blog page. But you have your home page, so you can just click home. It'll bring you to your home page. And this is really where you want to look at your pages, is blog posts. This is what a blog post page will look like. All right? You can now blog from anywhere. There's the text, all that kind of stuff. You can add links. I mean, it's got just about everything that you're going to want as far as a website editor goes. Lastly, I'm just going to cover some of these settings up here. I mean, this is the basic front end of a website, how to build a website. I'm going to be doing a whole nother video on the back end of the website, but there's only so much content I can make in one day here. But you have your site, so you have save. Always hit the save button every 5 or 10 minutes. I know it's a pain in the butt. Hit save. If you're ready for the world to see it and you've already gotten your website to premium, hit publish. You have preview, get feedback. So find out from your get feedback from your clients. You have publish in there. You have view publish website, release manager. So if God forbid something happens, you can either create a release spot or site history. If you want to go back and scroll back, we have had somebody had malicious stuff done to a website. It was a huge time saver because it would have cost even more money. We have duplicate site, transfer site, move site to trash, exit editor, settings, connect to domain. And I'm going to cover all this stuff down in a future video because we are 45 minutes in already, and we have just scratched the surface. Get an email, get a mailbox. I typically don't like Wix mailboxes. You're much better off going directly through Office 365 or G Suite. It's going to just make your life a lot easier, in my opinion. You have Upgrade, Premium Plan, get found on Google, favicons, business info, social shares. I mean, the list goes on and on. 404 errors. We're going to be going through all this stuff. Do not turn on dev mode. If you are a new website builder, if there's one thing that I'm going to leave you, it is with do not turn on dev mode, because dev mode gives you the access to code, which gives you a lot of access to ruining your website. And the problem is if you do too much damage to your website and you call us or another, website agency, they're just going to say, hey, we need to rebuild the website. There's too much code in here that's gotten messed up before. Leave dev mode off, please. It's going to make your life easier. Search the editor, help center, keyboard shortcuts, connect the domain, get found on Google, new releases. I'm going to do actually, we already have a SEO tutorial on our channel. Go check that out if you're learning how to use Wix. Terms of use, privacy policy, and then Upgrade. Obviously, they're going to give you a free domain if you upgrade yearly. For a year plan, enjoy unlimited bandwidth, extra storage, and things like that. Typically, the price range is between $8 or $9 per month up to about $35 to $40 per month. Reasonably priced for the amount of stuff that you get. Also, Wix support is phenomenal. And that's it. You have your tools up here. Layout, ruler if you want to look for a ruler, but you have your grid lines. Always keep grid lines on. Snap to objects, always good. Layers. This is kind of where you can get into layers. We typically don't use layers too much. It's a little too confusing. And then your toolbar, which is phenomenal. Search if you need help with anything in your editor. Save, preview, and publish. That is literally your whole front end. And we just crushed it in 45 minutes. So I hope this video helps. I mean, like I said, there's only so much content I could possibly cover in this time period. There's a lot. I mean, we're 45 minutes. I didn't even build anything. We just covered the basics. But that's how you really adjust anything and everything. And we're going to be coming out with a ton of tutorials on literally everything that you're going to want to know about Wix, how to use Wix and all that kind of stuff, how to make things look good, how to customize buttons and all that kind of stuff. But bear with us, because that would be... if we did everything in one shot, one, I would need to get up and drink more water, or seltzer in this case. But two, it's a lot. Breaking it down into small bite-sized chunks is going to help you absolutely find out the information that you really need, and to kind of dive into the areas that you need. So in the second video that's going to follow this one, we're going to be doing everything on the back end. This was everything on the front end, what you need to know, and we're going to kind of go through it. And then after that, we're going to be making a bunch of videos going forward on SEO and all this kind of stuff. So we're super excited to have you here. If you guys enjoyed this, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, little notification bell so you never miss another opportunity to grow your business online and to build a better Wix website. And that's pretty much it. Leave comments down below. We'd love to know what your questions are and anything like that. We're super happy to help and make the content. Honestly, we love making content, and the more people we get to help, the better off we are. So my name is Harrison Barron from Growth Generators. I hope you guys found value in this. If you guys did, like I said, like button, subscribe, notification bell. We'll see you guys later. Bye.